on a Building Ghana tour, and as Togbi said, it flows from the theme of our campaign for the 2024 election, and that is building the Ghana we want together. The theme expresses that we must focus on what we want our nation to be, and that no one party or one individual can build that country for us unless we come together and do it as one people. And so that's what the theme is about. And so this current tour is called the Building Ghana Tour, which is an extract of that slogan. Because NDC is a grassroots party, we believe that we seek political power to serve the people of our nation. And you can't serve the people of your nation if you do not know what their heart's desire is. And so the period where we sat and made some experts sit in a room and write manifestos for us is past. In 2020, we did a similar excursion around the whole country. We sought the opinions of people of all walks of life and professions to find out what the challenges facing them were and what they would desire the NDC to do for them in the event that it wins political power. Based on the suggestions and contributions that they made, we came out in 2020 with what we call the People's Manifesto. It was the People's Manifesto because it generated from the people. The bulk of the ideas that were in that manifesto were ideas that we extracted from our interactions with the people of Ghana. 4 years have passed since 2020, and we're in an election year again. This current tour is seeking to update the knowledge that we got from the previous tour. 4 years have passed, things have changed, times have gotten more difficult. In 2020, when we were writing the People's Manifesto, Ghana had not declared bankruptcy. We did not have a debt restructuring exercise. We did not have a completely collapsed economy. And so there might be other things that have arisen within that 4 years that people would want to draw attention to. And we have come across a lot of fresh ideas, fresh challenges. We've spoken to teachers, lawyers, doctors. We've spoken to masons, construction workers, fishermen, farmers, to traditional rulers, and so many other people. And I must say that it's been a very fruitful exercise. It is our prayer that we win the 2024 election and that the reins of government come back into our hands, because our country is in a dire situation, and never before have I seen the hopes of a people banked so heavily on a political party and a political leadership like I am seeing today. Wherever we have gone, Ghanaians have come to us and asked us to do everything possible to protect their votes in order that we can rescue this country from the crisis that it is going through. Ghanaians have seen the NDC in government before, and they know what we're capable of. And that is why a lot of hope and responsibility is being placed on our shoulders. When Togbi was speaking, he mentioned a few things, but I would say that the main focus for us would be the economy, resuscitating and consolidating the economy, because that affects everything else we talk about. If you don't have a buoyant economy that is growing, then nothing else, works properly. The next priority will be to create jobs, to make sure that we stimulate the private sector, put investments in places and ways that will create job expansion for our numerous young people to have work to do. That is the one biggest existential threat we face, youth unemployment. It has risen from 8% in 2016 to 14% today. And all of us see the result in our homes. Our relatives our children are finishing school at all levels, SHS all the way to tertiary education, and they're coming back and sitting at home because they can't find jobs to do. And that is what is bringing some of the ideas that we're putting across, like the 24-hour economy. Ghana is not going to be the first. In all the advanced countries, London, Australia, Sydney, and so many of the advanced cities, Singapore, and all of them, they have a 24-hour economy. And what they do is, they don't force it. Nobody goes and writes a law and says everybody must work 24 hours. But what they do is they put policies in place and incentives in place to incentivize the private sector to be able to run 24 hours. And so that is the position. We're going to create incentives so that businesses can run 24 hours. One of the major things that come immediately to mind is security. A lot of businesses close in the night because they don't feel secure. They are not sure that if they are working in the night, armed robbers won't come and storm and break open and kill them. And so one of the first things we must do is to secure businesses that are going to operate 24 hours. Make sure that we protect them. Make sure that we prevent any miscreants from coming to disturb them during the period. The next is transport. You need a reliable transport system for people who have to go to work in the day or night to be able to commute easily and in safety, to be able to go to where their jobs are. And so you go to cities like London, the buses are still running in the night and conveying people from point A to point B. Incentives like tax breaks for companies that sign up to the policies. Government can give them, a tax break and say, we're going to give you a preferential corporate tax rate of this because you're employing more people. It is within government's right to do so. Electricity is one of the most expensive inputs, and people run an 8-hour working day because they think that the longer they work, the more expensive their electricity bills will be. And so we can give them a preferential electricity rate for companies that sign up, so that in the night time when we have abundant electricity, after 10 o'clock we all switch off our TVs and everything and go to bed. From 10 o'clock in the night till the next morning 5 a.m. Asogli is not going to reduce power because they say people are sleeping. That power is still being generated. How do we get people to use that power for productivity and to create employment? We can give them smart metering that charges them lower in the night, so that it encourages them in the night to be able to continue to produce, so that they can take on more of our young people to work. If you look at the steel factories, they consume a lot of electricity, and electricity is one of their major inputs. And so if they get preferential treatment in the night time, there's no doubt in my mind that the steel factories will be among the first to want to continue their operations at night. And then aside from that, government is the biggest spender in the economy. Government buys the most goods and services in our economy. If government says that we'll give preferential purchase to companies that are working 24 hours, if they're making soap or cooking oil or whatever they're producing, government will buy their items first. It's only when that is not available that they'll buy other items. If you give them preferential market share, it will encourage a lot of businesses to sign on to the 24-hour economy. And so it has been done before. It's not a new idea that I just came up with. I have studied how it is done in several places, and as I speak, we have a team that has come up with a concept paper on the 24-hour economy. We're going to build it as a policy, and we'll roll it out before this election so that Ghanaians know what it contains, because it's something that we want to hit the ground running with. So like I said, economic consolidation, jobs, and then the next is governance, which includes the constitutional review process. As you know, our late President of blessed memory, Professor Mills, is the one who initiated it. and he set up the Professor Fiajo Committee to go around the whole country and solicit views as to what we want to see amended in our constitution. Because our constitution has served us since 1992, and of course, when a constitution comes into operation, after working for some time, you will find that there are some loopholes and other things that you need to fix so that it becomes dynamic and continues to serve the times in which you have arrived. And so the Professor Fiajo Committee went round and came out with their recommendations. After they brought their recommendations, Professor Mills set up the Constitution Review Implementation Committee to implement the recommendations of the Fiajo Committee. And then the Attorney General at the time came out with a white paper on the constitutional review. Unfortunately, one of our citizens took government to court, to the Supreme Court, and said government did not have the authority or the right to implement that constitutional review. And the case remained in the Supreme Court until almost the end of 2015. And if you understand that some of those amendments involved referenda in order to amend entrenched clauses, I mean, having almost entered an election year, it was not possible to begin to talk about organizing referenda and all that. And so we decided reasonably that we should leave the work to the next government that was coming. And so we did that, and we made a promise that if we won the election of 2016, we'll continue the process. Unfortunately, we lost and left office, and our colleagues, the New Patriotic Party, came into office. They've been in office for 7 years now, and the only part of the constitutional review that was of interest to them was political party participation in local governments. So they tried to bring that to referendum. Unfortunately, we did not have the same thinking. We believe that the local government level should continue to be non-partisan, and they believe that political parties should be allowed to participate in local governance. And so that was the difference between us. But if you know how entrenched clauses are amended, then you realize that unless there's a consensus on something, no one party can amend the constitution. Because you must have at least 40% of registered voters participating in that election, and 75% of them must say yes, in order that you can carry out an amendment of an entrenched clause. So once NDC pulled away, then it meant that the amendment was defeated. But there were many other things in that constitutional review that the MPP could have taken forward, but they don't seem to have been interested, and so they just abandoned it. And so we have made a pledge that if we come, we'll continue from where we left off with regards to the constitutional review process. The next priority will be transparency and accountability and the fight against corruption. I do think that if we do not establish fairness in our system in fighting corruption, it will overwhelm this country. A lot of time lip service is paid to it. The anti-corruption institutions are fettered and are not able to dispense their mandates independently and unhindered. And I have said that we will hold people in this government who have misconducted themselves accountable. But at the same time as we hold them accountable, people who will also misconduct themselves in our administration would face the full rigors of the law. The anti-corruption institutions will come after them. And I am not going to interfere with the work of those institutions if they are investigating you. If they investigate you and you are found innocent, fine. If they do and they find you culpable, then the laws of the land will have to work. It's only when we establish that kind of fairness. And of course, we know that corruption has permeated everywhere. But then, for those who are indulged in petty corruption at the lower levels, they cite the big corruption at the top for the motivation for them also to get their fair share. And so if we must fight corruption, it must start from the top to the bottom, so that if you yourself are transparent and accountable, then you can hold your subordinates to transparency and accountability. And so that's another priority. The next priority is to make Ghana as self-reliant as possible by investing in areas that we have a comparative advantage to produce, but are currently depending on others to bring those same products in. And so we're going to take every region and look at every region's comparative advantages. We're not going to do one district, one factory, but we're going to put investment based on the comparative advantages of every region to be able to add value to the production that they are engaged in, so that more income can come into the region. But apart from that, it can also cut down the amount of foreign exchange that we need to import those same products that we are capable of importing. So these are some of the areas, a little teaser of some of the things that we're going to stand for if, by the grace of God, inshallah, the people of Ghana favor us and give us their mandate. NDC has brought the greatest development to Volta region than any other party in existence. Anytime NDC has been in office, we have extended electric power to many communities. Many communities would not have had power but for the NDC administration. We built small town water systems in many communities in the Volta region to give them clean drinking water. We've rehabilitated more roads and done more kilometers of roads in the Volta region than any other government in the history of Ghana. We've expanded telecommunications in the Volta region than any other government. And as I was saying to the standing committee, Volta region has the longest piece of the fiber network that we laid. 700 kilometers of fiber from Greater Accra to Upper East. The longest part of it runs through the Volta region for high-speed data transmission. We built markets in many communities in the Volta region, including in Ho. The new Ho market was built by us. We built an airport, even though it's underutilized at the moment. I will tell you some of the ideas we have for that airport. We built a public university from the scratch, the University of Health and Allied Sciences. The Volta region had no university, no public university. And it was during the NDC that we built UHAS. And we have intention of expanding the facilities in UHAS so that it can admit even more students to come and learn here in the Volta region. We established the regional hospital, the teaching hospital, and it's our intention to expand it when we come into office so that Volta region can become a center for medical tourism. So people who are ill in the neighboring countries can come to the teaching hospital here because it will have modern and expanded facilities to be able to give them proper health care. But aside from just infrastructure development, our intention for Volta region is economic transformation. Governance is not only about infrastructure. It's about investing in areas where the people can get the most benefit. And Volta region has opportunities in tourism. There are many tourist sites in this region. And if we invest properly, people are going to come from Nigeria, from Togo, from Cote d'Ivoire to come and enjoy some of the tourist facilities that we have here. Volta region has the comparative advantage for agriculture. Very fertile land, a lot of water. If we add in irrigation systems, A lot of our young people can increase production of rice, cassava, oil palm, ginger, and so many other products that we have the comparative advantage to produce. Volta region can become the hub for ICT innovation startups, because as I said, we have the longest fiber cable running through this region. And so if we set up the infrastructure like we did the Accra Digital Center, we build a digital center here so that people who want to leave the hustle and bustle of Accra and come to a quiet, serene place where there's no traffic, there's no pollution, and be able to do their work quietly, they have a high-speed fiber that links up to any submarine cable to take that data between here and wherever they are working in a very short time. We can build industrial parks here and service them, provide electricity and water, so that for industrialists who want to come and set up factories, in order that they can produce in a quiet environment and enjoy the benefits of tax breaks, because our tax law says that if you go outside the urban centers and you build in other areas outside the main industrialized centers, you are giving a tax holiday. But no industrialist wants to come and now have to find the land, draw electricity, bring water, do the road to the factory, come and install the machines, because already he's going to incur costs if he has to export, to truck his products back to Tema for export. And so if you give him the advantage of having a free zones that has industrialized parks, that he can just come and set up his machines and start producing, that will be an incentive for them to be able to move their production outside Accra Tema. Everybody is in Accra Tema. And when we all take our bags and we're going to Accra Tema, they say, why are you going to Accra Tema? Stay at home. But if you continue to promote just Accra Tema as the industrial hub of Ghana, then all of us will go there looking for work. And so we need to spread out Ghana's industrialization so that all our people can benefit no matter which part of the country they are. So these are some of the thinking that we have. Since NDC left, I can say that all projects in Volta region have stagnated. I've been to the secondary schools, I've been to the hospitals, I've been to many places. Communities that were waiting for electricity, the wires are there, the poles are there, nothing is being done. You go to the secondary schools, administration blocks, dormitories, dining halls, the stage at which we left them on 7th January 2017 is the same stage at which they are. Community day schools were building, abandoned, and so many other projects. And as I said, one of the things that we will do when we come is to concentrate our little resources in finishing abandoned and ongoing projects instead of being in a hurry to start new ones. And so for all of you in your traditional areas, we've asked our party organizers to take an inventory of projects that are abandoned, and I hope that the traditional rulers will join us in doing that, presenting a list of projects that were ongoing in your traditional areas that have been abandoned, so that we'll have a national database of all those projects, and we can allocate resources to continue and finish those projects. It's after we finish those projects that we can then look at the resources that we need to put into new projects. I want to again express my sympathy to the victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage, and to urge government to do even more to alleviate their plight. As was said, I was one of the first to come and see for myself what had happened. We had heard rumors about flooding in the Volta region, but the country and the world did not know the full extent of what was happening. And so I remember it was a day I was supposed to travel abroad that night. And I said, no, I better come and take a look myself before I travel outside. And so I came to South Tong, and I inspected the flooded areas and realized that it was more extensive than people thought, because Mepe area was even worse than what I saw in Sogakope. I went to the hospital, the Sogakope hospital. All the nursing staff and medical staff had been evacuated and had been camped in some pavilion in the hospital. The flood had come so quickly that many of them had not been able to evacuate their items from their houses. So their furniture, their suitcases, their fridges were still standing in water. Even the mortuary of the hospital was inundated. And so families that had dead bodies there were asked to come and evacuate their dead bodies or risk the bodies being given a mass burial. And so that day I went there, there were all kinds of hearses loading dead bodies to take them to look for other mortuaries to put them in. So even the dead were not spared the effects of the dam spillage. And so I want to commend everybody who came to help and all those who made donations for the help that they gave. The victims are still suffering. Many of them houses have been destroyed in such a way that they cannot immediately move in. And so I know that some MPs and some private sector players are building some resettlement accommodation, especially in North Tong, to resettle some of the people who were affected. And I encourage that more people should come out to help. But there's also the issue of tidal waves on our coastal areas. And I think government has become fed up with the tidal wave problem. So when it happens, they don't even mind the people anymore. And so we continue to give our widow's mite. The last one that happened affected several of our coastal communities, and NADMO did not have anything. And so we had to mobilize and go and assist. But we must find a permanent solution to it. Because I know that when we were in government, we were doing the coastal defense projects to protect most of those coastal areas. There are gaps that need to be filled. And in 7 years, this government doesn't appear to have the will to do it. And so if we come, we're going to look at protecting the gaps, the rest of the coastal areas, so that this perennial tidal waves that displace our people will become a thing of the past. One of the things that concern our traditional rulers is local governance, and they feel that they've been excluded from local governance. But I do believe that if the chiefs had a greater role, it will make our local governance even more effective than it currently is. And so one of the suggestions that was in our 2020 manifesto, and we shall repeat in this manifesto, is that the chiefs will be given the authority to appoint their representatives, a certain percentage. You know that we have appointed members of the district assemblies, and so a certain percentage of the appointed members would be appointed by the chiefs, so that they have their representatives on the assemblies and can use their representatives to contribute to whatever is happening in the district assemblies. Unfortunately, under this government, they have re-centralized a lot of the functions of the district assemblies, and that's why many constituencies and districts are suffering because there's no money coming to the assemblies. The first thing this government did was, the constitution says that between 5 and 8% of national revenue should be given to the assemblies for their development. In our time, we were at 7%. We were given 7% of revenue, and we had promised that we will increase it to the 8% threshold that the Constitution gives. Unfortunately, we lost the election. MPP came in, and they have reduced the share of the District Assembly from Common Fund from 7% to the minimum 5%. And for the first few years of being in government, they did what they call capping and realignment. And under the capping and realignment, they set a certain threshold for every fund. And so if the amount of money in the fund exceeded a certain level, all the excess money went into the consolidated fund. And that's how come 5%, 7 to 5%, and then apart from that, capping and realignment meant that the amount of money coming to our DCs for development was very little. Somebody went to court, and court declared it illegal to include the District Assembly Common Fund in the Capping and Realignment Act. So that has been taken out. But what they have now done is centralized procurement. And so some of the money that rightfully should have gone to the district assemblies is going to the development authorities, just because they want to be the ones to award the contract and take the kickbacks for awarding the contract. And so the district chief executives are sitting there, the assemblymen are sitting there, and somebody comes from Coastal Development Authority and says, I've been awarded a contract to build a primary school. The assembly knows nothing about it. Somebody comes from Middle Belt Authority and says, I've been awarded a contract to build a KVIP. The procurement has been done at the authority's office. The award has been made. And the person comes with his workers. Often he will come with his workers from wherever he has come from and come and deliver the project. But when our assemblies were awarding these contracts, we had local contractors in the community who used to tender and win these contracts. And because they live in the community, when they do the contract and they make their profit, they use it in the community. Unfortunately, that has changed. And so, even with the money that should come as District Assembly's Common Fund, the District Assembly Common Fund Administrator does most of the procurement. And so you are sitting as a DC, they call you, hey, come and take dustbins. I mean, the Assembly could have bought their own dustbins. Hey, we bought you garbage containers, come and take them. We bought you this, come and take them. We bought you Wellington boots, come and take them. I mean, the assemblies can do their own procurement. And so when you do that, you are virtually re-centralizing everything. Leave the money and the resources to the assemblies and let them determine their own destiny. If they chop the money or they take some of the money, at least they too are benefiting at that level. So if it's corruption, you want to get kickbacks from contractors, allow the local people to get their kickbacks. And so when we come, we would pursue decentralization again and make sure that the resources go to the assemblies so that they can do their own disbursements and kickstart again the local economies to the benefit of the people. So there are many other things amongst others, but I'll just mention a few of the things that for the Volta region will be priorities for us. Reconstruction of the roads in the region. A lot of the roads have deteriorated, and a lot of the roads that we're working on have come to a standstill. The Eastern Corridor Road particularly has come to a standstill, and so that will be one of the roads that we prioritize to finish, because it's a very important corridor for transportation of food products from the hinterland to the capital. And so that's one of those we work on. There are several others, like the Aflao Road. I came along that road yesterday. It's in such a terrible state. We need to reconstruct it so that it can increase the flow, because Aflao is a major commercial center in the Volta region, and Ho is the capital. And so there's a lot of traffic between Aflao and Ho. And so reconstructing that road is going to be a priority for us. There are many other roads, but I can't mention all of them. We built an airport here and they say it's a white elephant. I can assure them that, inshallah, by the time we leave in the next 4 years, they will find that it's not a white elephant. There are many things in aviation that an airport can do. Not only carry passengers, the passengers will come with time. With economic transformation and business, people will fly here rather than drive, 3 hours or 4 hours to get here. I mean, they'll fly 25 minutes, 30 minutes to get here. It saves time. There are car rental companies, they rent a car, they do what they want here, it drops them back at the airport, and they fly back wherever they came from. Tourists would prefer to fly here rather than hazard road accidents driving all the way here. If the hospitality and tourism business booms, a lot of people would want to fly. Aside from that, it's a very quiet airport. The skies are open. We don't have any aircraft crisscrossing. If we establish a pilot training school at the whole airport, the students can fly at any time without the danger of crossing commercial traffic. There are a lot of private jets in Nigeria and other places. If we establish a maintenance center here, it's easy for them to fly from Nigeria, come to Ho, come and service their jets, clean their jets, valet services and everything, and then fly it back to Nigeria. So there's a lot that we can do. And so don't be discouraged that passengers are not yet flying into the airport. Even medical evacuation. Any of us here can be sick and we'll call the Air Force and say, can you come and pick us? If there were no airport here, how would they come and do that? The plane can land, pick somebody. If there's been an accident or a disaster, they can come and pick the people. So there are a lot of uses for that airport, and I'm proud that we built it. It's not a waste of the people's resources. There are many other things I'll just run through quickly. We'll provide compensation and resettlement packages for victims of the Akosombo spillage. We promise we'll construct a modern market in Aflao. The Togolese have Ashigame. We too will have Aflao Ashigame. So that we can actualize the ECOWAS trade liberalization scheme. They will come here and buy the things that we have a comparative advantage to produce. We also will go there and buy the things that they have a comparative advantage to produce. And so that will be one of our priorities. We want to upgrade the Ohio Agric College into a university, an agriculture university. And like I said already, we'll take advantage of the fiber optic laid in the region to build global and technology innovation centers like the Accra Digital Center for startups. We'll also, I said it already, upgrade the facilities of the teaching hospital to make it into a center for medical tourism. We will expand the facilities at UHAS in order that it can absorb more students to come and study and make it a first-class university. We will expand irrigation facilities in the Volta region so that more people can do year-round agriculture. We'll facilitate the establishment of an industrial hub so that we can attract industries to come to the Volta region. We will invest in tourism potential so that more tourists can see Volta region as a place to visit. And we'll speed up the exploration of the Voltairean basin in terms of oil and petroleum. As you know, petroleum is in transition phase. It's coming to an end because of global warming. And so more people are transiting to electric vehicles and green energy and all that. And so if we have oil and gas, this is the time to pump it as fast as we can. And so we have to speed up the exploration. And if we find oil and gas in the Voltairean basin, we have to start producing and selling as quickly as possible so that we can invest that money in other aspects of the economy to provide jobs for our people. And so let me thank our traditional leaders once again. I think I've been talking for a long time. This has become a lecture more than an interaction. So I'll leave it there. And I believe that when we have the open forum, there might be some other things that, because of time, I've not been able to touch on that we can look at. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the former President. Togwio, it is time for open forum. Now, His Excellency, the former President, has another program, that is the town hall meeting. And so, we'll try as much as possible to make our questions very, very brief for him to get enough time and go meet with the town hall, to go have that meeting at the town hall. As a result, we will take 5 questions from my right side and 5 questions from my left side. Well, both contributions and questions. 5 from the right side, 5 from the left side. But for the high table, yes, open forum. Five is too much. Well, my attention have been drawn to the fact that the 5 questions and contributions from each side are too much. So I should reduce it to 3. 3 from each side, please. Okay, all right. His Excellency has allowed me to go 5-5. And so I start with Toby Zaga. Very, very brief.
Thank you, Registrar, for the opportunity. Before I start, I need to commend the Honorable Okudzato Ablakwa for his relentless effort in relieving his people. That is what leadership is about, and absolutely we stand up for you. Now, His Excellency, you've itemized a number of things that you intend doing when we come into power. One thing that I was waiting for is discipline, that I haven't heard. Indiscipline has become the hallmark of our nation. You talked about 24-hour economy, you mentioned transportation, and today, even if you build first-class roads, people think that the best way they can behave on the road is to accelerate the car to the fullest. Even men in uniform are not excluded. How or what in your program are you going to do to ensure